What's up, guys, and welcome back to another Hogwarts Legacy video. We are counting down the days, so close. I've got kind of a fun one for you guys today. This is going to be what we won't see in Hogwarts Legacy, and I'm not talking the basics or the very obvious things. Obviously, we're not going to see certain characters from the books and the movies because this game takes place 100 years before that, but just like some of the things that you might think you would see, some of the landmarks, some of the, characters and things. It's going to be fun. I've got a good list today, so I hope you guys enjoy the video. Honestly, just talking about this helps with passing the time that goes by waiting on this game. So, first and foremost, let's talk about a couple of mechanics in game. We've all known these, but I figured we could include these right at the very start because they're quick. We won't see multiplayer for sure. We know that. They've confirmed that. A lot of people are upset about that. I think it's fine. I'm really excited for a full single-player open world RPG that you can just lose yourself in and focus on the story and not focus on interacting with other people. Although at some point, maybe in a sequel or something in the future, it could be kind of fun to have an open world online MMO Harry Potter game. I don't know, just walking through the streets, dueling people, it'd be kind of cool, but we won't see it this time. The second thing we won't see is microtransactions. There's no multiplayer. There's no reason for microtransactions. That, honestly, is a really good side effect of that. The third thing I wanted to talk about that's kind of a basic thing is that we won't see Quidditch, and we actually have a little bit more information on this. So it's been confirmed that Quidditch will not be playable in this game. There is a Quidditch pitch. You can fly around the Quidditch pitch. There are brooms and things that you can use at any point in time for travel around the world, but you cannot actively play the game of Quidditch. And honestly, I would say this is probably my biggest regret for this game. I don't know how to put it, but I am very sad that we won't have Quidditch. I think it would have been a fantastic thing to add, and it is a little bit unfortunate, but we can hold out for hope in the future. Again, I mentioned a sequel earlier. Nothing about that's confirmed, but just looking at the hype for this game and how hungry people are for this universe, if this thing is a shining, glowing success, I would have a hard time believing that they wouldn't come out with a whole series and maybe, sequels to this game, maybe offshoots of we used to have Harry Potter Quidditch World Cup. Maybe we'll get an updated version of that. I don't know, but it feels like it's definitely missing there. Whether it comes as a full standalone game, it comes in a sequel, it comes as a DLC. Heck, I would pay for it as a DLC. Listen, Avalanche, if you guys added in a $30 buy it afterwards, 6 months from now DLC for Quidditch, 1000% I would pay for that and revisit the game, and it'd be great. So hopefully at some point in the future we get Quidditch. Now, just because it's not playable doesn't mean that it's not somewhat of a plot point end game. And I don't know how big this is. Honestly, I don't think it's very important. I don't think it's a very big part of the game. I don't think there's going to be cutscenes or anything like that. But it is somewhat a part of the narrative. So you guys know WB Games hosted a bunch of YouTubers out to Los Angeles a couple weeks ago. I was one of them, and we were able to play and record early. And one of the YouTubers, I'm not sure whose video this is, I just saw the screenshot on Reddit. They had kind of a dialogue, or they overheard dialogue between other characters in game, and they said something along the lines that Professor Black had canceled Quidditch. So the headmaster has put a stop on Quidditch for some reason. Maybe there's going to be a story behind that. Maybe there's not, but the students are talking about it, so it makes it kind of seem like it might be some sort of a plot point. I don't know. We'll have to wait a couple of days to find out, but it is at least mentioned in the lore. And honestly, kind of similar to that is the House Cup. Unfortunately, the House Cup mechanic is not there. You're not going to be earning points for your house. You're not going to be celebrating the winner of the house at the end of the year. It just doesn't exist. We have the house point, hourglasses in the main lobby. There are going to be references to it in the dialogue and in the story, but there's no actual house point mechanic. So Quidditch and House Cup are there, but just not actually interactable or usable. Now, talking about the House Cup, if there's one man who loves him a House Cup, and honestly kind of loves to stack the deck and cheat a little bit, that's Albus Dumbledore. I swear at the end of every book, every movie, he's snapping his fingers. 769 points to Harry Potter. He wins. Gryffindor wins the House Cup every single time. Is he going to be in this game? No, probably not. However, there is an interesting point here. So Albus Dumbledore was very, very old. Not as old as his colleague Nicholas Flamel, but very old. He was about 115 or 116 years old when he died, and that puts him at 10 years old during the events of this game. There's a young Albus Dumbledore out there somewhere. Now, what's interesting is at 11, that's when you get your Hogwarts letter and you're a first year at Hogwarts. So we likely won't see him in this game, but if we get a sequel, if we have a year 6 game, we could see a little first year Albus Dumbledore running around, which honestly would be really, really cool. So hopefully if we do get a sequel, we get to see something along those lines. The next thing I'm about to say is not confirmed. I want to make that clear. This is not officially confirmed, but I don't think we will see Diagon Alley in Hogwarts Legacy. And honestly, that's a pretty big deal. It's not quite as big as Quidditch for me, but Diagon Alley is obviously a very fun, exciting, eclectic, just crazy location in the books and movies. It is kind of sad if we don't have that, but I just don't think it's happening. So in the trailers and information we've seen so far, there are references to the fact that like our equipment and supplies and things like that have already been picked up for us. And then also, one of the very first like teaser images we saw of this game is that there was an Ollivanders in Hogsmeade. You can see that image right here. So I just like the fact that our supplies are already taken care of, and we know there's going to be a Hogsmeade, and there's an Ollivanders in Hogsmeade. Like there'd be no reason to go to Diagon Alley. Hogsmeade is close to the school. You know, there's all the references of like secret passages there and stuff. It kind of seems like it makes sense that you're going to have the school, you're going to have Hogsmeade to do your shopping, and then you're obviously going to have the world around that. Could we still see Diagon Alley? Possibly, but it just seems like it would be a little bit repetitive. So I don't think it's going to be in the game. Now, talking about Hogsmeade, we are going to be missing a very iconic building. The Shrieking Shack won't be in the game either, and that's because it didn't exist yet. The Shrieking Shack was commissioned by Dumbledore for Remus Lupin when he was at school. Obviously, we know he was a werewolf, so when the full moon came out, he needed some place to be able to go and wait out his transformation so he wouldn't hurt people, and that was made for him. That's why it was known as the Shrieking Shack, because obviously painful transformations, howling at the moon, screaming, yelling, whatever. So that is not going to be in the game because it just straight up didn't exist. Now, because the Shrieking Shack didn't exist, neither does the Whomping Willow. I was kind of sad when I realized this. I was excited to see, you know, what would happen with the Whomping Willow and that kind of thing. But yeah, that was planted by that group, Moony, Wormtail, Padfoot, and Prongs, Lupin, Pettigrew, Black, and James Potter, Harry's dad. It was planted over kind of like a secret passage to the Shrieking Shack. So if there's no Shrieking Shack, there's no reason for a hidden passage. There's no reason for the Whomping Willow. So neither of those are going to be in the game. Similar to the Whomping Willow, something that would have been fun to check out but won't actually be in the game is Aragog and Aragog's Nest and all that craziness from the Chamber of Secrets books and movies. Honestly, I'm kind of glad it's not going to be in there. But yeah, you're not going to find Aragog out in the Forbidden Forest because he just doesn't exist yet. Aragog was back in like the 1940s when Tom Riddle was at school, aka Lord Voldemort, and Hagrid was taking care of Aragog. Riddle blamed Hagrid and blamed Aragog and you know, kind of made them the scapegoat for the basilisk that he had set free and said that was what was hurting the students. So Hagrid let Aragog go. Aragog went out into the forest and has been living his life since then. And that's why Hagrid was expelled. And kind of the same thing along those lines. The last one I have here is Moaning Myrtle, because she's not dead yet. We're going to have a ton of ghosts in this game. We're going to have Peeves and Professor Binns teaching the history of magic, and Nearly Headless Nick, the Fat Friar, the Bloody Baron, etc., etc. A lot of familiar names there. But Myrtle's not going to be in it because she wasn't dead yet. Myrtle died when Tom Riddle was at school, let the snake out, and she died in her stall because she looked into the eyes of the basilisk. So yeah, some heavy hitters that we're going to be missing in this game because they just straight up didn't exist yet. You know, it would have been fun to be able to interact with some of these things and see these things that we've seen in the movies and read about in the books, but they're just not around yet. This is our own story. This is our own time, and it's very purposeful. The devs have talked about this. They didn't want too much familiarity. They didn't want too many other heroes in this game because they want you to be the hero. They want us to be the hero, our player character. We're the ones that are this fifth-year student with these ties to the ancient magic, and this is our story. We get to make it what we want. We're not interacting with the other things that we already knew about. This is all new and all exciting, which I think is pretty cool. So hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm going to see you guys in our next video. Just a couple days left. Just a little bit more waiting. I'll see you guys there. Peace out.